My name is Nicola Hagen, and I'm too conservative for the conservatives. My co-host Rob Ambrose, not woke enough for the liberals. We are the Political Orphans. Today we have a special show where we have two guests. One right now, one at 7:30. As we speak right now, we are joined by friend of the show and president of the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, John Carpay, to speak about what is happening with Bill C-9, the notice of paper motion meant to speed up Bill C-9, banning social media for children under the age of 16 under the soon-to-be retabled Bill C-63, the Online Harms Act. John Carpay, friend of the show, is a more important designation than your actual role in life. Welcome.
Yes. Great to see you again,
glad
John.
to be with you and your viewers.
We love having you on.
Glad to be with you.
Thanks again for doing this, because I reached out to your team, I believe it was yesterday, so happy we could do this fast. Right now, last time I checked, about an hour ago, we still did not have an update on Bill C-9 because there was a motion on notice paper that was tabled last week by the Liberal government on Friday to speed up Bill C-9. Now, you know what a motion on notice paper is. I had never heard about this prior to this. Can you explain to us what that is exactly and how does it make any sense?
Well, sometimes governments get tired of whether they're a majority government or whether it's a minority that has support of one of the opposition parties, so effectively has a majority. Sometimes governments get fed up with how long debate is going on. We don't want debate to go. We want to have lots of debate, but there also has to be an end to the debate as well. So it's quite normal. It's not unusual that a government will say, look, we've been debating this now for 2 months or 4 months or 6 months, and we're going to push this ahead to a vote. So this is where it's come to, because the Conservatives and temporarily the Bloc and maybe the NDP were against Bill C-9, but now they've negotiated this deal where the Liberals and the Bloc together have a majority on the committee. They have a majority in the House of Commons. And their deal is that they're going to open the door for prosecuting Catholic priests and conservative evangelical pastors and Orthodox Jewish rabbis, Muslim imams, if they teach what their scriptures say about homosexuality or transgenderism. Potentially, they could be prosecuted for hate speech. This is the deal that's been made. So now the Liberals have said, okay, enough's enough. We've been debating this for months. We want to push it ahead to a vote. So this is going to be voted on by the House of Commons by Friday the 13th or Thursday the 12th. So it's coming up very soon. So now is the time for Canadians to contact their MPs, especially if you have a Liberal or a Bloc MP. Say, if you vote in favor of Bill C-9, I'm going to vote against you in the next election. Keep it very simple. And maybe the government will still back down in the next 2 or 3 days. Wait and see.
So before we actually talk about the deal that was made with, because you brought up my next point and how the Conservative kind of played that game too. But before we get to that, the thing that bothers me about this whole motion of notice paper is I understand what you're saying. I understand what the principle is. I understand why it's there. The part that I do not like is the fact that we're talking about arguably the worst censorship bill to ever be tabled in Canada. We are talking about something that will change Canada it will literally flip Canada into what Australia is and what the UK is, where people can be now arrested for posting stuff online that hurts people's feelings. And as Bruce Party said on this show, Bill C-9 criminalizes emotions, and that's exactly what it does. So I want this bill to take 2 years of debate if that's what it takes. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not a bill where we're giving a bit more money. It's not the grocery bill, as dumb as that bill was.
Fundamental change.
We're changing Canada 100%.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
is this acceptable that because it's not going their way, because the conservatives for once are somewhat doing their job, they're not debating the real crux of the issue that we can talk after, but they're debating that religious aspect, the good faith removal of the protection that is in the criminal code right now that the Bloc Québécois wants to remove in order to pass that motion. How do you explain that this is acceptable? How is this not an outrage that they're able to do something like that?
Well, I think the real issue is that it's a bad piece of legislation. Whether or not a government gets fed up at a certain moment in time, right? This can go in all directions. You could have a conservative government in power that's maybe pushing through the repeal of hate speech criminalization. So this, and the Liberals and the NDP and the Bloc would be opposed to that, and they would be trying to slow it down. And the Conservatives might if they had a majority, they might entertain a lot of debate. I'm not saying they will do that. It's a hypothetical example, okay? But let's say we had a Conservative majority government and they wanted to repeal the criminal code prohibition on the willful promotion of hatred. So they've got a bill to repeal that. After, a certain number of months had gone by, they would get to a point where they would say, enough is enough, and we're going to push this ahead to a vote, and then they will use their majority and they will get it through. So I think the problem is that it's a bad bill. I can't honestly get too upset with the government for, they didn't cut off debate instantly. I mean, it's been before the House for a few months. There's been lots of opportunities. There have been different groups and individuals have come to testify before the committee. The committee's received all these papers from different groups and organizations have, written in. An Aboriginal group wrote that, we should criminalize residential school denialism, right? That was their submission. So there's been opportunities for Canadian groups and individuals to put forward their views. So I have a big problem with the bill. I don't necessarily have a big problem with, after so many months that the government finally says, okay, we're going to push it through to a vote.
So, John, what do you think is the sort of the worst parts about this bill? If you could pick, just one or two, and also, what's your take on how you think this is going to be enforced? Right? Do you think this is going to be a bill that just kind of sits there, or do you think this is going to be something like the UK, where we're watching a new video every couple of days of some 70-year-old grandmother being hauled away at 2 a.m. by 4 or 5 cops?
Before you answer this, John, can you answer the first portion of his question, not answer the second? Because I have a similar question, but before you do answer his question, I kind of want to remind the listeners what's actually going on, because Bill C-9 is just one part of the problem that we're facing, but Bill C-9 opens the floodgate for everything else that has been tabled and that will be tabled. So I want you to address this question, but I just want to kind of put a bit more context to it. So as Rob said, can you tell us what you think is the worst part of this bill?
Well, there's one very terrible part that thankfully has now been removed because of conservative pressure, and I guess the Liberals agreed. There was a provision in there to get rid of a current requirement whereby if the local police and local prosecutors want to prosecute a Canadian for hate speech, they need the permission of the Justice Minister. So there's a review process in place. And that exists currently, which is why probably the reason why we don't have thousands or hundreds or even dozens of hate speech prosecutions. We have 1, 2, 3 per decade. It's not very often. So the worst part of Bill C-9 was to get rid of that review process. But this apparently my information is it's been removed.
Okay, well that's a relief. But
yeah. So the bad parts that are left is that it opens the door to criminal hate speech prosecutions of religious leaders who preach against homosexuality. There's no guarantee that that will happen, but it does open the door for that. That's bad. It also creates a freestanding separate hate crime, which is not necessary because we already have on the books today, and have had for a long time, that when a judge is sentencing, they can take a hateful motivation into account already. So we don't need the creation of a separate hate crime. Emotion should not be criminalized. We should criminalize bad deeds. In fact, that's the whole problem in Canada. We keep on getting more and more laws about things that are already illegal. The cybersecurity, Bill C-8, it's already illegal to hack into somebody else's server and software system and hack into somebody else's records. Cyber terrorism is already illegal. Harming somebody else's property is already a criminal code offense, right? If you harm somebody's security system, if you breach past security, all these things are already crimes. And harming children online, it's already a crime to lure children, to sexually exploit children, to blackmail and threaten people with naked photographs, to post revenge porn, to threaten people. All of this child protection stuff. There are so many criminal laws already that it's criminal to harm children, right? Mm-hmm. But then they come along, we got the Online Harms Act, and we're going to take away all these rights and freedoms in order to protect children. We've got so many laws on the books. If they were enforced, we don't need new laws. Yeah. Very few. We might. I'm not black and white. Okay, maybe we need some new laws, but not the stuff that's being brought forward with the Online Harms Act, likely coming back in the future.
So here's my concern, and this is the part that I don't hear anybody speak about outside of me, like a crazy person on the side of the street that's a bum that hasn't shaved in 2 years, that's saying, hey guys, the end of the world is coming here. But my biggest problem with Bill C-9, I'm a Christian, so sure, I don't like the removal of the good faith portion, the protection that we have for speaking the truth, which is the Bible. But my biggest problem, and that's a problem that should affect every single Canadian out there, every single Canadian should be worried about this part, is the fact that Bill C-9 wants to add the definition of hate in the criminal code as the emotion that involves detestation or vilification and that is stronger than disdain or dislike. And that same fucking definition can put me in jail for 10 fucking years. This is my fucking problem. And I'm sorry, John, I don't normally swear at you, with you normally, but this fucking bill is gonna change the face of Canada, and I seem to be the only douchebag out there that's screaming about this literally every single day. And this is something the conservative did not talk about whatsoever. I understand the religious protection, I get it. But most people don't care about that in Canada. Most people are not religious in Canada anymore. But every single Canadian should care that the government is trying to criminalize emotions, and it pisses me off that no matter which party you're looking, the party that's supposed to represent conservative values don't have the fucking balls to talk about this, and they're acting like, it's just business as usual in Ottawa. We have a bill that we don't agree with, but hey, it's okay, it's gonna pass, we'll figure it out. But we can't figure it out, because once Bill C-9 passes, that opens the door to Bill C-16 about the gender protection, the gender violence that calls on the definition of hate speech in Bill C-16. And as you mentioned, we know that Bill C-63 is going to be retabled very soon, because Mark Carney alluded to it last Friday when he talked about banning social media for children under the age of 16. And we know that Bill C-63 will call on the definition of hate speech that is part of Bill C-9, which Sean Fraser told us that Bill C-9 will be applicable to speech online. And on top of it, as you said, the Telecommunication Act, Bill C-8, gives the power to Mélanie Joly, of all fucking people, to have the power to force internet service providers in Canada to remove somebody's internet because they're troublesome to the internet service in Canada. So as we said before, Bill C-9 opens the door to Bill C-16, Bill C-8, a new Bill C-63, and we're being faced with a big fuck you bill. Instead of a big fuck you bill, we're being fed a bunch of small bills, and none of our politicians are talking about it. How do you explain this? Am I crazy here? Am I really somebody that's in a corner like an idiot that's screaming, the world is ending, and everybody's laughing at me? What's going on here?
The only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. And I think in the last 50 years, 40 years, there's a lot of good Canadians who love truth, they love freedom, they love justice, and they're not engaged, they're not aware, they're not following. I think the good news is that there are more Canadians today who are awake and alert and aware and engaged compared to 6 years ago. We're coming up, next week will be the 6th anniversary of the lockdowns, our charter rights and freedoms being violated by lockdowns. That happened March 15th or thereabouts, mid-March of 2020. So we are 6 years, we were 1 week away from the 6-year anniversary. The good thing is that woke up a lot of people. A lot of people, they never paid any attention to anything that the government was doing. They had this naive trust that, just relax, trust government. Government, they might pass a bill that you disagree with a little bit, but they'll never pass a bill that's going to really take away your rights and freedoms. That had been the attitude, but now up until 6 years ago, for so many people, it was excessive trust towards government and a naivete to say, don't worry, be happy. Because all these people are good and they won't take our rights and freedoms away. So we now have more Canadians that are alert and awake and aware. So now we're still in terrible shape because the current government is not a friend of freedom, not a friend of free speech, and they're very clever. They put, we got to protect the children. Are you against protecting the children, Nico?
Yeah. Who could be against?
Are you against? So, Rob, you want children to be harmed? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Exactly right. And that's a tried and tested playbook. John,
but you didn't answer my. But hold on, you didn't answer my question here, because my question was, am I fucking crazy here?
No, No, you're more passionate about it. I think it's because you're so awake and aware and alert that it's hitting home stronger to you than somebody else is hearing about this for the first time and they're starting to think about it. They're starting to explore it. You're full in on it, and yeah, I'm with you. I'm particularly the C-63 is
scares the shit
I don't know
out of
what
me.
version, but that's terrifying. The bill they introduced 2 years ago, C-63 Online Harms Act, we got to protect the children, and just powers to prosecute Canadians over non-criminal speech that is discriminatory, and $50,000 fines, and Digital Safety Commission, and the federal cabinet getting powers to pass internet censorship regulations without any input from Parliament, and then a Digital Safety Commission to enforce this with $1 million fines on internet providing companies. C-63 is an absolute nightmare, and it makes it almost makes C-9 seem insignificant in comparison.
So, John, just kind of going on to adding on to what Nico was saying, how he mentioned the specific definition of hate, right? It's an emotion that's stronger than disdain. How can you criminalize that? How can you prove that in a court of law, which is supposed to be based on facts, right? A murder case, the guy is dead or he is not. If he's not dead, he can't be charged with murder, right? How do you prove an emotion that's stronger than disdain? And just a final thing, which is just carries on from that question, is this, to me, it seems like this is a fundamental change in the criminal law. This is not just adding on to existing law. Is there any other thing that exists currently where we are criminalizing emotions, because every other thing that I'm aware of in the criminal code is based on an action, a crime that you did. How you feel is irrelevant. So is there anything like that, or is this a brand new, like, genuinely fundamental change to the criminal code?
It makes the existing provisions worse. This law has been on the books for decades, where it's a criminal code offense to willfully promote hatred against an identifiable group in public. Okay, so private conversations are exempt. So if you're on the phone with your friend or emailing your friend and you say that, you know, a certain religious group or ethnic group or you know, sexual minority, whatever, that they're all evil and they're vile and they're scum, and, you know, we should lock them up in prison or kill them all, whatever. In private conversations doesn't apply, but in public, the willful promotion of hatred has been a crime for decades. What C-9 does is it tries, and it's a stupid attempt that fails. It tries to bring in some clarity to what the emotion is, but it's scary because at the end of the day, it's really going to depend on the local police. If a police officer sees or hears you saying something, does the police officer feel that that's hateful? You know, and this is very subjective because, you know, three people could listen to the same podcast or watch the same YouTube video, and one of them says it's hateful and two of them say it's not. You know, so it depends on the local police, depends on the local crown prosecutor, depends on the local judge. Does the judge feel that it's hateful? I mean, we've got this ridiculous trial taking place right now in Toronto. I don't know where it's at, but there's this fellow named Bill Whatcott who he and a bunch of people dressed up as green gay zombies for the Toronto Pride Parade. They were all wearing these green zombie outfits, and they were handing out flyers, tracts, literature, and it said gay sex is, you know, bad for your health. You could get horrible diseases, and it's bad for your soul. You might go to hell forever if you know, whatever. And, you know, he gets charged with hate speech over flyers that I mean, people. Obviously, some people found his flyers very offensive, particularly at the Gay Pride Parade. He wasn't handing these out at a church parking lot on a Sunday morning. He was going to the Gay Pride Parade dressed up with his green zombies and handing out these flyers that saying that gay sex is bad for your health and bad for your soul. Offensive, yes, but he gets prosecuted with hate speech. Why? Well, because, you know, people felt very offended. I mean, it's just... But these laws have been on the books for decades. So, you know, C-9 it just makes them worse, but it's not brand new.
But the thing that's brand new is that they're actually putting a definition of a hate, because right now there's no definition of a hate in the criminal code. Now there will be one, because that bill is going to pass. Let's be honest here. That motion of paper is going to pass. It's going to become true by the end of the month. I wouldn't be surprised that it's been through Parliament. It will have assent. It will become law very, very soon. But you said something before we let you go that really I think we need to push even more, because you talked about personal conversations. You look in the UK, there's a woman, I can't remember what her name is, but she got sexually assaulted by basically an illegal immigrant, and in a private conversation with who she thought was a friend, she called the guy that sexually assaulted her slur words. So we don't know what the slur words were, but they were obviously racist. And she was charged. She was looking at years in prison. She didn't end up going in prison. But right now in Canada, we have multiple individuals that are in prison for hate speech, for things they said online. So it's already started here. But the point that I want to make to the people listening here is, if you look at what happened in Tumbler Ridge. So the Tumbler Ridge, the shooting that happened about a month ago, now the RCMP messed up. The government messed up. They gave back guns to somebody that was known to police. They gave back guns to his mother, and 2 of those guns were used in those shootings. But instead of taking accountability, the government is basically blaming OpenAI or ChatGPT for knowing that guy was problematic a couple of years ago, after they actually got that guy in under observation for mental illness. The point I'm trying to make is that now we have our Minister of AI is in conversation with ChatGPT's OpenAI, the people that own ChatGPT, in order to understand what happened. And now the family of one of the victims is suing. Today, they dropped a lawsuit against OpenAI's ChatGPT for responsibility for the shooting because they did not say anything to the RCMP. As a guy that comes from the telecommunication world, I can tell you that what's going to happen, and I've seen it in the past, the government's going to make backroom deals with those AI companies to say, hey, these are the flags that we're looking for. If this are the type of conversation that you hear in one of your platform, you need to let us know. What do you think is going to happen if you have a bill, the definition of hate as in greater than disdain on the books, and all of our private conversation now with AI are looked at, judged against a set of template, a procedure that the government is going to give them? On top of that, this listens to you 100% of the time. Your cell phone's always listening. Your laptop's always listening. Your TV's always listening. Your smart car's always listening. Your smart fridge, your smart coffee maker, your fucking Roomba now has a microphone and a camera. Everything's listening to you. So what is stopping government from starting to look at every single piece of personal conversation that you have, just like the UK is doing right now, and charging us for hate speech because I said in a private, because I called somebody retarded in a private conversation? I'm obviously, this is not private, I'm doing it online, but this word could now become hate, and I could be looking at prison time for something I said in a private conversation. Again, am I crazy here, or is this the reality that we're going to be facing soon in Canada?
You've raised quite a few issues there. I mean, one of the first ones is that if a man or a teenager or a boy thinks that he's a woman, he is mentally ill and he needs help, not drugs and surgeries, and we're going to help you to become a woman. That's not compassion to mutilate people. And so, yeah, there's mental illness here with this teenager who's a boy, a man, and he thinks that he's a woman. Well, yeah, but unfortunately, to give him the mental health support that he needs would actually be a criminal offense in Canada, because it is illegal to help gender confused people to align. This got passed in Bill C-4 with support of the Conservatives, I will add. It is illegal in Canada to help somebody who is like a man who says, I'm a woman trapped in a man's body, or a woman who says I'm actually a man. To help those people,
you can't say no, you're not.
To realign, you cannot do it as a counselor, as a medical doctor, as a psychiatrist, as a pastor, priest, rabbi, imam. You cannot, it's illegal to help people in Canada that are gender confused. That's a big problem. And on the surveillance part of it, I'll just briefly, we've just released a paper 2 weeks ago with the Justice Center, The Collapse of Privacy and the Rise of the Surveillance State. It's a short paper, 3,000-4,000 words, 10, 15 pages, goes through what is happening right now with the legislation, Bill C-2, Bill C-8. So on our website, Justice Center Constitutional Freedoms, JCCF, Justice Center Constitutional Freedoms, JCCF.ca, and you look at the reports, and we have a report there titled The Collapse of Privacy and the Rise of Canada's Surveillance State. And so this is a good tool to educate ourselves about where things are at with this, the intersection of legislation and privacy considerations.
So once again, you're basically saying that I'm not crazy. It's basically
you're not crazy.
Telling me here.
Well, you are.
You're not.
Just not on this issue.
It's just insane to me. I come from that world. I come from the telecommunication world. I understand exactly. And I read Bill C-2, C-8, C-12, C-16. I read C-63. I'll read the next one when it comes out. And I see what they're doing. Bill C-8 puts the infrastructure together to run the AI software that they need to analyze the content that's going online as per defined by Bill C-9, as per defined by Bill C-16, as per defined by the new Bill C-63 when it's retabled. It's all connected, and yet I seem to be the only crazy person that's talking about it in Canada, and it blows my mind. I don't understand what it's going to take for Canadians to wake up. But John, we have another guest in the back. We're running late, and I apologize to Chris that's in the back. I apologize. We need to have you back on because this is going to be voted on either Thursday or Friday this week, the paper motion.
And people should call your MP, contact your MP, email, phone, and say, please vote against Bill C-9. You know, or if you vote in favor of Bill C-9, I'm going to vote against you in the next election. Just keep it simple. We've seen the government back down on their Strong Borders Act, on their Bill C-2. There was so much pushback. So many people contacted their MP that the government backed down on that. So this is the time right now for Canadians to contact their MP.
And I would add to that, if you guys contact your MP and they do not say they don't help you, send me their name, info@nicolagan.com. I will make a video about every single one of them to expose who they are, because this is the type of crap that we cannot allow to happen. Those guys work for us, not the other way around. That's something that they need to be reminded. Those guys do very well, and they work for us. They are supposed to do what we tell them to do. If they're not, info@nicolagan.com. Send it to me. I will happily humiliate them. And unfortunately for them, I'm very good at creating pissy videos and getting a lot of views on it. John, it's always a pleasure. We'll book something for next week so that I'll book you for an hour, because I don't know what the fuck I'm thinking booking you for half an hour. It's never enough.
We got to talk about the Musqueam agreement in British Columbia as well. But yeah, yes. let's talk again next week, and I'll let you get to Chris. Thanks for having me on your show.
Hey, great.
Always a pleasure, John. Thanks for being here.
Always a pleasure. Yeah.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Have a great evening, sir.
Bye, John.
Thank you.
On that note, guys, before we jump to our next guest, there's two things I need to say. First, we need to talk about a sponsor, Miss Cleo's Pet Treats, 100% natural, healthy dog treats made right here in Canada. Not only are they handmade, but they come from local farm in Manitoba, and the woman that makes them by hand. It's kind of insane. My dog will not leave me alone. I think, yep, she's right next to me, and I guarantee you if I get up towards the fridge, she's going to be requesting me to give her treats. So if you think your dog deserves better than that Chinese crap you find at Walmart, go to Cleo Cookies and Treats.ca. Use our discount code Political Orphans and get 20% off your entire purchase. Just look in the comment section below. You will find the website. You will find the discount code. Now, we have a guest joining us. Before I introduce him, before I bring him on, I just want to say that this is going to be an emotional conversation. I don't know how else to describe this. This is something that really, if you thought I was pissed off about Bill C-9, it's not going to be better. It's not going to get any better for the next interview. But this is a conversation that I'm looking forward to. But I just want to tell you that this, I don't know if I should say a warning, is going to be emotional. There are certain subjects that we cover that could be, I don't want to say problematic, but that could be problematic. Let's call it problematic. So that's all I had to say. On that note, we are joined by the father of Jackson Joseph, a young man that was killed in the Humboldt Bronco bus crash in 2018, along with 15 other teammates and staff. Chris Joseph, he is here because he and his wife, Andrea, and 2 other children are tired of the lies and manipulation from mainstream media regarding the driver of the semi that killed his son and his teammates. Chris, first, thank you for your patience. I apologize that we're starting late. Thank you for being here. And I want to send my sympathies to you, to your family. And as a father, I cannot imagine what you've been through and what you're still going through right now. So thank you for being here.
We appreciate your
Thanks
time.
for having me. Yeah, thank you for having me on, Rob and Nico. Yeah, I know you got you reached out to me after I posted my last I did my last story, basically retaliating to the CBC and their narrative that they're painting, making Mr. Sadu into a simple man that made a horrible mistake and lives with it every day. What I've gotten to know is the exact opposite, and I've actually had many conversations that are in the same room as him, like parole hearing, courtroom. Never actually spoken with him, but the person that I've seen has been a pretty self-centered, me first type of guy. And every time he's in the mail pleading for, or in the news pleading for his family to stay in Canada, it just re-traumatizes us, and it brings us back to April 6th, which is the worst day of my life. And it's tough because I don't want to put my family through this anymore. And I've gotten to the point where we've had enough and we're pushing back.
So you said a lot right now that needs to be defined, that needs to be explored, that I want to try to put a bit of context to this.
Yeah.
And so this all started because of a video that you released, an actual interview that was released about 36 minutes long. And that came, correct me if I'm wrong, but that came because of the new CBC video that was released 4 days ago, where I'm not going to name him. I don't name killers. I don't name shooters. I don't use the names of assholes. And I'm sorry to use those words, but I will not give him attention for his name. But the CBC released a video 4 days ago talking about him and how he was facing deportation. And in the video, the man in question said that he was haunted by the thought of being separated from his family. His wife went on to say that she can't imagine their lives without him, referring to the driver. How does that make you feel that CBC is making him, making him all about him, making him sound like almost he's a victim? And it's a tragedy that he is being deported. But this man spent 4 years in prison for blowing through a stop sign that killed your son amongst 15 other teenagers and staff and injured another 13. And somehow that fucking asshole is a victim because we want to deport him. What's going on here?
Thanks for that, Nico. I mean, that's going to lead right into why I did it. So CBC ran a piece, Karen Pauls, she ran a piece about Mr. Sadu and the sadness that he has to go through possibly being deported. And in that piece, he talked about, when I run my fingers through my son's hair, it makes me sad that I might be gone or might have to leave. And I said, the last time I ran my fingers through my son's hair was in a morgue, and his body was cold and beat up because of him. And I will never get to run my fingers through my son's hair. And the audacity and the balls that it takes for him to say something as ignorant as that, when, number one, he can take his family with him. It's not, he's been a selfish person to me. But if his wife and kids decide to stay and let him go, that's a pretty selfish move on her part as well. So the audacity of him to say something like that, I find disgusting. He's been pleading this, woe is me case. Let me give you a little background. April 6th, when it happened, he gets into the collision. There's carnage. There's bodies everywhere. He somehow manages to climb out of his cab that was on its side. There's boys screaming everywhere. They're literally 10 feet from him. He gets out of the cab. He tells a bystander, I'm okay. I'm okay. He did not help one person. He did not call 911. He did make one phone call to his boss in Calgary. That boss got in a car and went to Saskatoon area, with Tisdale, Nipawin area. And so he didn't do anything. And that evening, when he was talking with the RCMP, he said, the sun was in my eyes. The next day they did a reenactment. The sun wasn't in his eyes. 5 p.m. in Saskatchewan in that direction, the sun was way up in the sky. That sun in my eyes turned into, oh, the tarps were flapping. And I was distracted by the tarps. Well,
Jesus.
I talked to the people at the peat moss factory that loaded the tarps. They said everything looked great. It was tarped as usual. And he claims he got out of his vehicle. Well, I've driven from the peat moss factory to the crash site, and the timestamp that he said he drove from here to there, he didn't have time to stop and look at his tarps. So really, it's all a bunch of lies. Now, he's extremely well coached, but the person that I've gotten to know and my wife's gotten to know has been looking out for number one since day one. He hasn't helped one person. He did make a connection with one of the families that forgave him. And he told that family that he was going to help change the trucking industry. He was going to really step up and do the right thing. He hasn't done one thing. Every single thing that he has done has been for himself. I'll give you a little more. When Judge Cardinal Inez in Melfort, Saskatchewan, sentenced him to 8 years, she said, you are to serve 8 years and you are to be deported. So he goes to prison. Canada Border Service Agency has to do a report. They said, when you finish your sentence, you are to be deported. He fought that, and he took it to federal court saying that the CBSA agents didn't do their job. He was overruled. So now you've got the judge in Saskatchewan, the CBSA, and a federal court of appeals have all said you're to be deported. So then he goes to Immigration Refugee Board. It's a bit of a dot the I's and cross the T's, but he falls under the criteria, permanent resident, charged with a certain amount, and he is to be deported. So everybody says he's to be deported, and he keeps fighting it. While he's fighting it, because he does have a pretty crafty lawyer, while he's fighting it, he's making babies. So he should have been gone, and I don't have a problem with him making babies, but he's making Canadian babies. He's not making Indian babies. So now he's using that as his leverage to say, I should stay in Canada. So the audacity of him to say, I'm going to be separated from my son, it sickens me. I try not to swear, but it fucking sickens me.
Yeah,
like,
you can do
I
it.
will never be with my son. There are so many other families that will never be with their sons. And of course, we had Dana on our team. They'll never be with their daughter. Like, it's disgusting. It just epitomizes who he cares about. He cares about himself.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a chance to ask questions, but I got a lot more.
I told you, Chris,
this is
before
about
you go,
you.
Rob, like I told you, Chris,
okay.
There's no timestamp here. If it goes for an hour and a half from here, I personally, I have no problems with that. I know you've been screwed by mainstream media in the past. I told you that I will give you green light to talk about whatever you want in the way that you want. And if it takes more time, it will just take more time. This is not a problem whatsoever. So, Rob, I know you had something to ask Chris, so go ahead.
Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah. First of all, just again, really appreciate your time here. I can't imagine how difficult it is to speak about, and perhaps, hopefully, it may be cathartic. But Nico and I are both fathers of young men. My son is just turned 17, so he'd be right about the same age as most of the young men and young women on that bus. And I don't, to be honest, I don't know how you can do it, but I have nothing but the utmost respect that you're able to even speak about this. My question is, so he was this guy was sentenced to 8 years and he got out in 4. Were you and any of the families involved in that decision? Were you able to go and speak at his parole hearing? And overall, how do you feel you've been treated as the families by the government, by the police?
Okay, so we have good questions. So he got 8 years. So I'll go back it up a little bit. The maximum sentence at the time was 14 years for dangerous driving causing death. Now, it has since changed. The Humboldt Broncos have changed it. The maximum sentence for dangerous driving causing death is now life, 25 years. But at the time, it was 14 years. Our Crown prosecutor went and asked for 10. And we told him in the meeting room, why'd you ask for 10? And he broke down in front of us and he said, because I didn't think I could get 14. And I said, well, we freaking wanted 14. So Judge Cardinal Inez gave 8, which at the time was the largest ever, but we wanted 14. Back it up even more. There's a narrative out there that says that he saved us the grief of a trial by pleading guilty. So by pleading guilty, there's no trial. There's no questions. It's just how long are you going away for? So at the time, maybe we thought it was a good idea. I don't know. We're all grieving. We just lost our children. But now that I look back on it, a trial would have opened up a whole can of worms. Like it would have questions that would have, and it would have been ugly. But I'll tell you what, the sentencing was ugly anyways. So it would open up a whole can of worms. He would have had to ask questions or answer questions. We would have gotten a chance to ask different levels. His boss, the driving instructor. Like we could have gone to the, immigration department. We could have gone big, and he squashed all that. So for them to say that he saved us, he didn't. He saved himself. He pled and he saved himself. And it was another example, like we wanted all that to come out. So in the 4 days in the sentencing, our first 4 days, I told you how April 6th, 2018 was the worst day of my life. The worst day of my life after that was the next 4 at the sentencing. There was 4 days of victim impact statements. 4 days, just loaded from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Victim impact, victim impact, victim impact. My family alone had about 5, right? Because it's me, grandma, my daughter, and you're just bawling your eyes out for 4 straight days. On the 3rd day, we're in Melfort, Saskatchewan. I go and look in the mirror and I'm like, who's that guy? Like I aged 10 years in 3 days. And so that was the second worst time of my life. So then we go through the whole sentencing and it's ugly. And at the end of it, Judge Cardinal's going to sentence him. They ask him if he would like to get up and apologize. So he had his back to us the whole time. He's sitting in the front row. He stands up, he turns sideways, halfway. He puts his eyes down and he gives us about a 30-second murmur of what seemed to be an apology. And that was it. That's all we've ever heard from him. So then you asked Nico, if we felt supported. So then we go in and now we've got a parole hearing. In the parole hearing, he's getting close to his parole. They grill him. They ask him tough questions. I'm not lying when I say he said, I don't know, or I don't recall over 100 times. Like everything, like he's so coached. So everything was, I don't know. So then the 3-panel parole board, I'm sitting there watching, I'm like, oh, they're giving it to him. They're not going to give him parole. Like they're being hard because they were like, Mr. Sadu, we don't like your answers. You're not being truthful with us. And at the end of it, I'm like, okay, I'm optimistic. I'm like, they're not going to give him parole. And they're like, but we are going to give you parole. We have no choice.
Unbelievable.
I'm like, what? You have no choice? So that was one letdown there. I really thought the parole board was going to, go to bat for us. So now, we get these victim offender updates. So whenever Mr. Sadu, say, goes on vacation, we get notified. So I know if he's leaving his area of Calgary. And so most of the time I'm like, yeah, whatever, he's going on vacation. He's having a good time, living his best life, making babies. So one time that we get a notification that he's going to be in the Banff-Canmore area in Alberta, right? And I'm like, I go, we're going to be there same time. Like we've already booked it. We have a place there. And I said, we're going to be there. So
why would he ever go back?
Yeah. So we go, we call victim services and we're like, we're going to be there same time as Mr. Sadu. Can you please tell him to not show up? And they're like, well, can you just avoid him? And I've said, what? Like, how am I supposed to do that? And they're like, well, where are you going to be, Mr. Joseph? And I go, what do you mean, where am I going to be? Where's he going to be? And they're like, well, we can't tell you that. And I'm like, so you want me to avoid him when I'm on my vacation because he's going to be on his vacation? It was just And so the support that we got, it wasn't there either. You know, it's almost like everybody in the government agencies, their hands are tied. And even, you know, I think they want to help us, but they can't, or they don't. I don't know what it is, but he has more rights than we do, it feels like.
Disgusting.
So I just want to, this is a conversation that we somewhat had in private, because you and I had a conversation a couple of days ago. So, because you wanted to see the type of person that I was, if I would do you justice, basically, or would I be just like mainstream media and try to fuck you, basically. And I'm happy that you decided to come on here, but I'm going to ask you a hard question, man to man here. So let me reiterate what you said, and then I'll ask you a straight up question. Decide to answer it or not, that's on you. But so there was no trial. The man only spent 4 years in prison. He was released in 2022. Mainstream media is still making him to be a victim because he's going to be deported, and God forbid that he has children and a wife here. His lawyer, Michael Green, has put in a request for an application for permanent residency under humanitarian and compassionate ground.
Yeah.
What do you think this man deserves? If it was up to you, as a man that lost his son, again, choose to answer the question. I can tell you what he deserves. He deserves his head. He deserves his head to be decapitated from his shoulder. I told you this in private, and I will repeat it here. But
well,
what do you think, as a man to man, what do you think that man deserves?
I think he deserves to be gone. That's what I think he deserves. Now, have I had dark days when I thought worse? Absolutely. Not going to lie to you. I've gone, in my mind, I've gone all Jason Bourne on him and hunted him down and done all that kind of stuff. I obviously came to realize that that's not me. But he deserves to be gone, and he should have been gone. And I'll tell you another thing about this humanitarian ground. So I'm sure you guys know, but just for your audience, that's typically for people that are maybe fleeing a war-torn country and it's not safe to go back.
That's right.
Or it's for people who maybe have a bounty on their head if they do go back, right? It's not for people that don't want to go back. Like
criminals.
The narrative that we're being cruel when he has the choice to go back to India, where, yeah, he might not have the big house or the big car, but there's 1 billion people living there. He's going to be just fine, you know? And he says his son has lung issues. There's people there with lung issues. He's going to be fine. He can take his family. And in fact, I'm going to go one better. I think it would be good for him. I think if he's here in Canada, he's followed everywhere he goes. The media is on him, and then it re-traumatizes us. If he goes back to India, he's anonymous. He can do what he wants to do. He can live his life. And the selfishness that he has portrayed, that he wants to stay here, I find disgusting. So I think it'd be better for him.
I just want to say, as easy as it is for me to say I'd decapitate his head, I can't imagine what I would do. I just cannot. As a Christian, I know I'm not supposed to be thinking those thoughts. But as you said, you have dark days. Yeah. But it just pisses me off. I was listening to the interview and I couldn't finish it. That 3.5 minute video, I had to stop it because I could not listen to that guy speak. I could not listen to Michael Green, his lawyer, defending a man that has killed 16 people and injured another 13. So as much as I say that I'd like to decapitate him, I don't know if I could kill somebody in cold blood. I don't think I could. I don't think I have the heart.
That's right.
Self-defense is a different story, right?
Totally.
But the thing that pisses me off is that I have no pity for him. I don't give a fuck that you're uncomfortable back in your country. I don't care. I really, really don't care. You killed 16 people. The way that you feel is the last of my concerns. And I don't understand why here in Canada, we care about this man's feelings. We care about this man as a whole after what he's done. That guy's lucky that one of the parents did not find him somewhere, because those stories has happened many times in the past. So he's still alive. He should be counting his blessings.
And that's why I think he's better to just leave. But I think this just shows the level of selfishness that I've been complaining about, that the narrative is incorrect, that he's this simple man that made a horrible mistake and he lives with grief every day. I'm going to be honest, I don't think he gives a shit. I don't think he lives with grief every day. I think there's days when he's like, God damn it, why didn't I just hit an F-150 with a couple kids? You know, like, oof, why did I have to hit Canada's hockey team? Like,
make it about him.
I think he thinks, like, why didn't I just kill a couple of kids? And I didn't know this was going to blow up like that. You know, like, all I've seen out of this guy is selfishness. All I've seen out of him is avoiding. And I haven't seen the narrative that CBC and mainstream media talk about. I haven't seen it at all. I haven't seen him do one thing for any other person than himself.
Chris, I this is such a difficult topic for everyone. You know, when you came on the show, I was like, wow, that guy looks really familiar. And then when you had talked about your video, running your hands through your son's hair, I'd seen that just on social media the other day. I was like, that's where, and I teared up at it, you know, because I think it was a really human moment. And I think when we talk about this, you can get bogged down in the details, you know, the horrific details, the numbers. And I think it is important to also humanize the conversation and get it back to where it's meant to be. I was wondering if you would be able to tell us a little bit about Jackson. You know, so we as the audience, I feel like it might, if you're able to, I love it. It won't be a dry eye in this room, but I think it will allow us to, I'm already there. It'll allow us to know.
It's my favorite. It's my favorite subject. And I do this because I love my family. The other day, before I talk about Jackson, the other day, I'm fighting that. I'm going up and down. I'm like, this weekend, I'm crying, I'm screaming, I'm a roller coaster. Just yesterday, I'm driving home from the hockey rink, and I said we got a group chat with my daughter and my wife and my son. And my daughter said something to me about, you know, like, I saw the interview, good job. And I said, I'm really sorry that I have to drag you guys through this. I go, I don't want this for you. This is traumatizing all the time. And as soon as I said, I'm really sorry I dragged you through this, I got a bloop, bloop, like I got 2 text messages from my wife and my daughter at the same time. It's like instant, saying how proud they were of me. And I said, that's why I'm doing this. This is the whole reason I'm doing it. You know, like, I'm doing this so that nobody has to feel this. So let me tell you about Jackson. I mean, he's just a regular kid. He wasn't special. He was special to me. He was a regular kid that loved hockey, loved his family. He was the middle boy. He was the glue between his older sister and his younger brother. He was a goofball. He tried to get out of trouble by making us laugh. It worked all the time. He had recently just told the first girl ever that he loved her. You know, like, we look at the other boys now, they're getting married, they're having kids, and I'm so happy for them. I think it's wonderful. But we look at what could have been. You know, like, my wife and I want grandchildren, and we want a big family. And, you know, like, it's just that. It's those little things. Like, he was a regular boy, a hockey boy, no different than you guys, no different than me. He loved his family. He was having a great time. He kept telling me how special that team was. And I got tons of hockey background too. And I remember him saying to me when he goes to Humboldt, he goes, Dad, this is a pretty cool team. I've never had a team like this before. I go, everybody gets along. It's great. And I go, Jax, that's awesome. I go, enjoy it. It doesn't happen very often. Like, to have a team that's super cohesive, it doesn't happen very often. You know, you get different characters but when you have it, it's special. And he really loved those boys. And, you know, the survivors, they're all pretty tight. They stay together. They've been through hell, but they're great kids. And some of them are still calling me. And so, was Jackson special? Yeah, he was special to me, but he was a regular kid. He's just like every other Canadian kid. He just wanted to play hockey, fall in love, probably have a family, and, you know, learn some lessons. Who knew what he was planning on playing hockey the following year for a University of Ontario Institute of Technology. He had some people come watch him, but he just loved being around his boys, loved being around his family. He was a big old goofball, and we loved him. He was awesome.
Sounds like a great kid. Thanks
Yeah.
for that, Chris.
You know what, Chris? I want to apologize to you for the way I've been speaking, because this shit makes me angry. This whole thing makes me angry. I spent a few hours looking at videos and just thinking about this before the show. It just makes me angry. I'm angry for you, and I apologize. I hope that
No, it's okay.
it's not being a nuisance to you. It's just, man, I just can't imagine. I'm a newly father. My son's 8 months old, and I can't imagine, I just can't.
It
I
changes
really
your
cannot
world, man.
imagine.
It changes
He's
your world.
He's everything to me, man. That
Everything.
smile that he gives me every time he sees me is worth
Yeah.
everything. It's
Yeah.
worth absolutely everything. So I'm angry for you. I'm
I
really
know.
angry for you, and I apologize if I said something that was,
No, you didn't.
I don't know, disrespectful. It's just,
You're fighting with me, and you're helping me in my fight, and I respect it and I appreciate it. And like you guys know, as dads, like it does change your world, and
Sure
you're a
does.
different person the minute you have a baby. You immediately realize you're not number one, and it's awesome, and you love it, and you would die for those children. And like people say time heals wounds. It doesn't heal
It
shit.
never will.
It's
No.
like it's always there. You just learn how to live with it. And so, do we smile and do we laugh? Yeah, we do. My daughter got married a few years ago, and like we have to celebrate her because it's a momentous occasion. It's awesome. But there's a tinge of bitterness to everything. Like Jackson should be here. There's always Jackson should be here. And you go to any wedding, somebody should be there, right?
Yeah.
There's always grandma, grandpa, mom, dad. Somebody should always be there. And those are the things that are really important in hockey. And if anything good's come of it, like the hockey world, really, because I'm in the hockey world too. The hockey world rallied around us. They were absolute rock stars for all of us, like from the NHL all the way down. We just had the greatest people, and it really made me appreciate the community. But the hockey world in general is tight knit, and they've been very good to us. But yeah, I know, Nico, like I appreciate you guys even giving me the platform to talk about Jackson. It's funny, Rob. People say, I'm going to get angry. I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to talk about that. And then people say, tell me about Jackson. And I'm like, oh God. Like it happens every time.
I knew it would be hard, but I had a
time.
feeling
Because all I got to do is,
be good.
and he is my favorite subject. Like Andrea, Jackson, Taylor, and Brett, those are my family. That's my favorite subject, right? But it's funny, like, and sometimes I'll be good. Like, don't tell me about Jackson. I go Jackson, and then I'll just bam, it just hits you like a ton of bricks. And so everything I do, I do it for my family. And it's just, I don't like that I have to get re-traumatized every time this selfish bastard tries to make it about him. And it bothers me. And I've had enough. I made an hockey analogy the other day to somebody. I said, okay, so when you're playing hockey, you got to take a punch in the face and hope the referees take care of the game. You got to do what's right for the team. You got to take a punch in the face. And then after a while, you realize, well, the referees aren't calling anything. So I'm dropping the gloves. And I think that's the point I'm at. Like, I'm dropping the gloves and I'm like, you know what? I'm fighting.
Someone's got to be the goon.
Because the referees aren't doing anything for me now.
Yeah.
So you got to take it into your own hands.
Absolutely correct. How is your family doing overall, Chris? Like, obviously it's changed you guys completely,
we're good. I mean, we're getting on with life, obviously. Like I said, my daughter's married. She's living in Vancouver. She's married to a wonderful boy. My youngest son, Brett, is 23. He's learning to be a helicopter pilot. Wife and I are working. Like, we're doing good. But sure would be a lot better if we had a third kid.
You always feel it. Yeah.
There's little things like for the first couple of years, people, how when you meet new people, they're like, oh, how many kids you got? And I'd say 3.
3?
I always say 3,
Yeah.
And then, but now, in the last couple of years, sometimes you don't really know the person all that well. And they say, how many kids you got? And because you don't want to say 3, because what if they said, well, what are they all doing? So sometimes we're just like, oh, we don't want to talk about, we got 2. We don't even say we got 2. We never say 2. But we'll be like, oh, we got an older daughter. She's doing this. And then we got a younger boy. He's doing this. And we kind of just leave it at that, which is terrible, right? No, we've been through counseling.
That you even have to think of that.
Yeah, we've done it all. I even did this thing, what was it called? EMDR, where you follow this blue light, and I'm trying to desensitize your trauma. And like, it's just, I mean, I don't know if any of it works, but you're always just trying to find some peace, but it's just hard. I mean, that hole is there forever. I mean, you see it even with 80-year-olds that lose their 60-year-old child. They're devastated. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how old they are. Newborns, stillbirths, you see parents like that. It doesn't matter. They're devastated forever. So I think it's just an unnatural progression, and I think it's for a lot of people.
You're not meant to bury your kids.
No.
Have you, hearing you speak, there's 2 things I want to ask. And the last one, I don't remember if you and I spoke about this on the phone. I don't remember if that was a no-go. And I apologize if it is. It's just, I have to ask you. But have you ever seen the movie Wind River? I'm a big movie buff. I absolutely love movies. I love the stories behind it. It's a movie with, what's his name? Jeremy Renner. But in the movie,
I haven't seen it. No,
I would highly. It's one of my favorite movies. It is a hard movie to watch, but it is about 2 men that loses their kids. But it's because he says something at the end. I don't want to ruin it for you, but the 2 men that lost their child, they have an honest sentiment. It's gonna make me. That movie makes me cry. I can't even imagine. But they're just having a conversation about what it means to lose a child, and some of the stuff that you said, he actually says it, but then he adds something to it that just breaks me. I've seen this movie 10 times. It just breaks me every single time.
I'll watch it, but
it's a great movie, especially the end. It's violent. Like Jeremy Renner, you know who that guy is, right? You know what I'm talking about?
I've seen the movie. I haven't seen the movie, but I know of the movie.
It's his best role.
And he's in Hurt Locker.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yes, that's the guy. But it's his best role because he's a man in that movie. He's a man that takes care of business, is what he is in that movie. But it is a very masculine movie where men are talking about shit you're not supposed to ever go through. It's just very touching as a masculine man to hear those guys talk about it, even though it's a movie. But the question I have for you, and that's the last one I'll ask you for now, can you ever find a way to forgive this man? Is that something that
I was actually
you can imagine?
That's a great question.
Because I've heard of people being able to do it. I've heard of people in that accident. There was a mother that forgave him, but
there's been some Broncos that have forgiven him. And to me, forgiveness is a journey for yourself. It's not for anybody else. I don't have that right now. And to say never, I don't know. The reason I don't have it right now is probably because I've seen too much selfishness out of him, and I don't like him, and I don't like what he's been standing for. Had he gone the other way and just voluntarily left the country or something like that, then I don't know, things would be different maybe. But right now at this point, I don't have any of it. I don't know why. I want it. Like, I really do. I want to get to that place where people are like, oh, you can forgive, but I don't have it, just because I'm still mad at him. The person that I've seen is just selfish, and that's all I can say. I don't have it right now.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to that, I certainly never suffered any kind of loss near what you have, but I've been in similar situations where you almost, it becomes a burden, but if and when you ever decide to forgive this person, that can only, the only reason you would do that is because you feel like it would help you and your family. I don't think this guy is owed anything. Yeah. It's just for me. If you feel it might lighten your burden, your load. But that
I'll tell you what would lighten my burden right now would be him gone.
Yeah.
That would lighten my burden. And then I've told people that maybe that would be the beginning of me even considering it. But as long as he's fighting for himself, I cannot.
I think I'd be right there with you.
Chris,
heavy talk.
I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm just laughing because I never shut the hell up, and I'm at loss for words right now. So this is not something that happens very often.
Well, I do want to thank both of you guys. It's tough. I mean, like, I've done this a lot, and it's hard, and you can see my emotion today. It's still not easy. It's never easy for me, but generally in life, you learn that the things that are tough are generally worth it, and you don't ever want to take the easy road in life. And this is hard, but I feel it's something I have to do for my family. And I do truly believe that Jackson would want me to kick in some doors and you know, piss people off. And I really do believe it. But you know, so you do the best you can. That's the only reason I'm here, is for my family.
I'm sure they can see that, and I'm sure, you know, you're again. I can't imagine how hard this is for you to talk about. We both really appreciate you coming on. I have no doubts that your family sees exactly that you're fighting for them, and you know, that's all a man can do, right? That's all we can do, is fight for our family.
Yeah.
Chris, hopefully you can stick around for a couple minutes. I'll just put you in the back room again. I just want to be able to talk to you afterwards, like not on air. If you don't mind waiting for a few minutes, we'll finish the show here either way. But I really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you for getting back to me, and thank you for just being here talking about this today.
Yeah, no, my pleasure, guys, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to spread the word.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you, sir.
Okay, thanks.
We'll talk to you soon, Chris.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
Probably the most emotionally fraught interview we've ever had, and we've had a few.
I've recorded over 1,000 over the years, bro. This is it.
Stuff. Heavy stuff.
Especially as a father, if you would have asked me that a year ago or 2 years ago, before my wife was pregnant, it would have been a different it would have probably be a bit different conversation, because I wouldn't have understood.
Yeah, especially father of boys, right? Like, obviously, girls are great in their own way, and I don't think it's any better or worse, but it is different to be a father of a young man. You know, that's, and I think you only get it when you become that. It just changes your life completely.
Especially because, Chris, we didn't talk about this, but he did like 14 years in the NHL, and to see his son play hockey afterwards, I can't even imagine. It's like having my son go through martial art and start fighting. Like, I wouldn't want him to fight, because goddamn what it did to my brain. But
well, what it did you,
exactly. But imagine if he did go through it and decided to do that for himself, I'd be his biggest cheerleader. Like, I don't even care. Like, it's just, it means something. It's your sport. It's something that I care about, and my son would care about. Oh, I can't even imagine what it is. I just can't. But it was great.
No, it was,
I really enjoyed talking to Chris.
Yeah, me as well. All right, guys, we're going to put a pin in it there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that interview. Obviously, we couldn't take comments as we normally do, but it could see the comments come in, and, you know, it seemed like pretty much everyone out there was, I think, as moved by that interview as we were. Guys, if you're just tuning into the show, if you're new to the show, you can support us by becoming a member. You can do that through YouTube for the low price of $2.99 per month. You can, of course, also buy us a coffee in your upper left-hand corner of your screen. And, of course, the third way you can support us, keep coming back. Throw those comments in there. We will get to them. That show is heavily based on audience engagement. Other than that, folks, have a great rest of your evening, and we will catch you tomorrow night for the Wednesday show. Peace.